All right, guys, Shotty T here. We got another video. We are in a new versus week. Just got a really quick update here. There's a planned update notice. Actually, I'll say that for another video because like there's a lot of updates. It was less than that before, but now they've updated some more. But for this right here, they did adjust the ranking rewards for Spice Wars for those that are in season 3. So it used to be 31 through 50 as one group and 51 to 100 as another. Now it's 31 through 40 and 41 through 100. So it looks like finishing in the top 40 is definitely a critical thing. But we should be good to finish, hopefully in the top 30. So where that stuff is not even relevant, but at least the top 40. But I think top 30 is possible. But that being said, we are in a new versus. We got a opponent that looks like on paper we on pace to beat this week. So we'll be 2-0 in our current versus cycle. But we still have to make sure we put up our points. So kind of segues into today's video. So as I mentioned, I'll try to mix in some stuff for people that are in different timelines and stuff that may apply to everyone. So this is one of those apply to all type videos. So I figured that since there have been more buildings added to the game since the last time I did this video, I think I'm going to revisit these buildings and kind of go in more into depth on the purpose of each of these buildings. Cause I think before I had talked about which building should you focus on upgrading, and I'll still touch on that in this video as well, because you still want to, obviously, if you want to improve your HQ, there are certain prerequisite buildings that you definitely want to focus on to make sure. So we'll start with there first. So obviously the most important building is your headquarters. This will help improve your heroes. It gives them a cap level that they can go to, and it's in multiples of 5. So if you're at level 20, for example, the highest your individual heroes can be is level 100. I'm at level 32, so the highest my heroes can be is at 160. Obviously, not everyone is at 160, so I'm slowly but surely working their way up. I got him at 156, and then the rest of these purples, I'll eventually get to 160. I kind of pretty much just save these for like arms race purposes, because I think I sent this guy up one level, because one level maximize all of those boxes. So that's what I've pretty much been using them for. Or if we have a competitive day 4 versus, then I kind of splurge on them a little bit more. But that is your lifeblood of your headquarters, because it's the headquarters building. And then the second most important one is your tech center. Every time that you have to upgrade an alliance center, your headquarters, the prerequisite building that you have to upgrade, one of the prerequisite buildings at the minimum, is always the tech center. So the tech center helps with research speed and mastery, so that way you can kind of unlock your research masteries at a faster rate the higher your tech center is. But of course you can get multiples of those. This one doesn't unlock until your HQ reaches 20. And then this third one unlocks is a certain mastery that you have to unlock the third tech center. I want to say, if I remember correctly, I think it's either Special Forces or Siege to Seize. It's one of these. I think it's Special Forces, actually. Not the more I think about it. It's somewhere near the top. It's somewhere up in here. It's not there. Where was it? Let's see. We're going to find it. I want to make sure you guys know where each of these buildings are. I know I've had people ask, like, where do I find all these different buildings? I want to say it's special. You know what? I know where it is. It's the oil, the Age of Oil. So the third tech center. So obviously, in order to get that, your HQ has to be at level 30, because that's how you unlock this mastery. You have to be at level 30 to unlock that. So that's what you got to do for that third tech center. So the more of these you have, this is the one that you pay for, which is optional, but I recommend. And then this one you just get after you get to level 30. So at the very least, you'll have at least 2 tech centers, but only one of them have to be at match your HQ, because these are not at that level. And then your next most important buildings, which also coincides with HQ upgrade, are your drill grounds. So this pretty much gives you your increases your capacity. And this is important because a lot of times, I mean, troops are made to die, but there are going to be some times in the game where you accumulate a lot of troops and you have nowhere to put them, and then you run out of room in your drill grounds. So there are masteries that you can improve your drill ground capacity with the research, your alliance techs as well. You have this right here to improve the drill ground capacity. So you got little things that can improve it. Your profession levels, which again, this is not season specific, but if you are a war leader, you have the ability to improve your drill ground capacity with that mastery at the early stages. And if you get past like level 80, you have more levels to increase it. So, and this helps with Desert Storm really, because you maximize your capacity. So the higher these levels are, the more you improve. But again, only one of them has to be high enough for prerequisite, because as you can see, I'm getting ready to prepare myself for HQ 33. And just to give you some insight for those, your hospital has to be at level 32, your drill grounds have to be at level 32, and your tech center and barracks and one of the missile aircraft or tank center has to be at level 32. So I've done those 3. You see those check marks, but now I got 2 more. So it takes a lot. To get to upgrade your HQ. So, and as you can see, the drill ground is being worked on and the hospital is being worked on. So that's a good segue. The hospital is pretty self-explanatory. The higher the level, the hospital, the increased capacity to have troops when they're killed in battles. That way you can at least retain more troops when they die. And there are masteries to retain more at a higher rate. And of course, there are masteries to kill people at a higher rate. So that way they're completely gone. But a good thing about this season, their proportion of troops that die, they become protectors, which is a season-specific thing for season 3. So that's the hospital, pretty straightforward. And then another important building, obviously, as you saw with that HQ 32 to 33 requirements, is your barracks. Your barracks is great because that's where your troops come from. You train more troops from the barracks, and the ideal setup with these are to stagger them. If you check out my previous video about staggering troops, where you're pretty much training your lowest, like this, for me, level 21, it produces level 7 troops. So what I do all week is that I train nothing but level 6s all week, and that's what I've been doing. So train level 6s all week. So by the time day 5 versus come, I'm training level 7s, upgrading them to that. And then this one produces level 8s. So I upgrade the 7s to 8s. This one produces level 9, so 8s to 9s. And this one produces level 10, 9 to 10. And eventually, I think if you get the HQ 35, which probably for me, probably won't be until like 2027 maybe, there are level 11 troops out there, because I saw some of those in opponents, not computer opponents, but actually monster opponents that you go against. I saw level 11 troops out there. So apparently that's another threshold, but we will see when we get there. So the next buildings are also pretty self-explanatory. You have your class buildings. You have your tank center, your aircraft center, and your, sorry, I clicked on the Hall of Fame there, your missile center. And for luxury person, I'm trying to get this to level 31 to try to keep, because my missile center is kind of the one that's behind everything. But I try to keep these as close together as possible, so I don't have like a quote unquote weak squad. I try to keep them balanced. And a good time to really build these is when you have downtime, when you're upgrading the larger stuff, like what I'm doing here with the hospital and the drill grounds. You kind of sneak that one in there. And that's why it's good to have multiple queues, because this is what I got cooking currently at the moment. All right. And as you can see, I try to have one slot where there's not as many days. And so I try to keep that one spot always flexible. And also for season buildings, which right now it'll be a while before I make my next upgrade for season building. So that's why I'm doing this for a couple of days to pass the time. And by the time that's ready, this will be done, or I'll just speed it up and finish it. So yeah, so these are self-explanatory buildings. What these do, these increase your march size. So that means how many troops that actually go into battle per unit. Okay. And then it also increases your class attack, hero, and defense. So that's another reason why you want to upgrade for that reason. So it's, again, that's self-explanatory. But tank center, a lot of times, especially when you're on your way up to level 30, is always a mandatory building to have every once in a while when you're upgrading your HQ. But then once you get past level 30, you can upgrade either one of them in addition to the other prerequisite buildings to get above level 32. Because as you saw, just to go back here, it says level 32 any tank, missile, aircraft, and that was the same case before I got to level 31. So yeah, so that's pretty straightforward there. And I think the other building that you have to focus on, obviously, with this is the wall. Now, before, the wall used to be a worthless thing to have, but I think the game made an update probably a few months ago where the wall had some relevance other than just being a prerequisite for HQ. So the wall, what it does now, it gives, whenever you are on fire, like if you get attacked, you don't lose as much durability in your troops. And also whenever your defense fails, you don't lose as many troops when you lose, even if you don't have troops on the wall. Like for example, like right now I don't have any troops. Well, I got these defenses on the wall because we had zombie siege yesterday. We're gonna take these off now. But normally, even if you don't have troops on the wall like I currently have now, if you get attacked by someone, you still can lose troops, just not at a higher rate. But that's what this wall helps, that you don't use it as higher rate, the higher this goes. All right, so, and also you can restore back to full sooner once you're no longer on fire, of course. So the wall is still, for the most part, is like, but it's better than what it used to be before. Cause only thing that it had before was just these two rankings, power level and durability. So, but it's still a building that has to be upgraded to stay on pace with your HQ. So, and it is very painful to build. So I think I've gone through at least all the ones that you have to upgrade. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, the Alliance Center is also another one that on your way up to level 30 is a building that you have to upgrade, but I don't think you have to focus on that after that. So that's why this one is stuck at level 25. But what this building does, it actually gives you, anytime you receive help, and depending on your mastery, their help could tremendously decrease the amount of time that it takes to finish a new task or to heal troops, finish a building, a research task. The only thing, nobody can't help you train troops, unfortunately. But if you're finishing a building, healing your troops, and doing research, that's what this comes in. And it increases on different thresholds. I imagine if I were to get this to level 30, it might increase the help received to 18. If somebody that has their Alliance Center above at 30, let me know in the comments to see if it's worth increasing this, because it doesn't take as many days relative to the other big stuff to get at a higher level. As you can see, the original time is 15 days, but with my mastery is 7 days. It's basically cut in half. And then if you use the vice president buff, you can increase it even more, and the cooperative construction. So you want to use all that stuff there. Craig Kimball's back with the Braves. Even though he's older now, I'm a Braves fan. So I think those are all the prerequisite buildings. If I miss anything, just let me know. So let's start from the outside. First of all, you have these season buildings. These are season specific, so I'm not going to really harp on those because different buildings have different objectives each season. So, and those are temporary. They disappear when the season is over. But starting here, these are for your squad. So most people, I think some of these unlock the higher you go, especially if you're just starting on the game. You unlock more squads, but eventually you'll get the three squads. This fourth squad is only available through purchasing the VIP pass. So we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about these here. These increases your march speed, and sometimes it could be pretty relevant, especially when you're battling someone. If you're trying to retreat back to your base, if they're trying to attack you, if your troops can march back to your base faster than they can march to you, you can have them, especially if you're trying to put troops on the wall that you're marching out in the field. This kind of helps strategically in battle. It's kind of hard to focus on some of this stuff, especially the higher the level it gets. It does cost a lot of resources. And right now my focus have been on the higher stuff. So that's why some of these are at its lower level. But there are some people I know that's been upgrading these religiously. I try to make these other squads at least somewhat respectable, because by far these are the lowest buildings that I have out of my entire headquarters. All right. And then let's go to the resource buildings. So these resource builds are pretty self-explanatory for the iron, the food, and the gold. Let me put this phone back on the charger for this battery dies recording this video. So this increases your output production per hour, and then it has a cap. Like usually it's like 11 or 12 hours. So a good rule of thumb is that anytime you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you want to make sure you collect, because you don't want to go into overflow. Or if you just make a habit of every time you're on the game in general, just collect. And if you use your first lady buff with the, because I always try to cover multiple stuff. If you use the Secretary of Interior before you collect your resources, you actually double what you collect. So you definitely want to take advantage of that, especially if you accumulated a lot of resources production overnight. But if you literally just collect this stuff and you just want to collect again 2 hours later, it's probably not worth getting in line, because sometimes those lines can be full. And then you have these other buildings, the warehouses. These, whenever you get plundered, it increases your protection capacity. So right now my capacity is at 22 and a half, but as you can see, I have a lot more than that that's out in the open. If you look at the very top, I got 226 million, 217 million iron, and 53.6 million gold. Generally, you want to try to wait until you start a new task before you open. Like, I haven't really opened these boxes for my resources in a while. I don't manually open these anymore. I just, whenever I start a new task, and if I'm short, I'll just auto open for those. So that's usually the focus there. The next building that you have here, you got some other supply buildings over here. So these buildings here, the material workshop, this helped increase the productivity of your screws per hour. And the relevancy there is that you can convert these screws over time. And I've done a video on this before, where you merge these screws together ultimately to form more of these, and then ultimately to form more of these, and ultimately to form more of these. And ultimately, this is what you use to craft your legendary gear. So obviously, if you can get this at a higher level, the more screws you can have produced per hour. But they're not super critical to have super high, but it doesn't take a lot of days. That's the good thing to get these upgraded. So anytime if you have like an extra slot open and you want to just have something to kill some time, or for versus scoring purposes, these are good buildings to work on. And then it's focused. And speaking of which, you got your gear factory. This technically doesn't have to be above level 20. You do have to have this at level 20, however, if you want to upgrade your gear past level 40. So it's just that's kind of weird that you see in the bottom left hand corner. I'm not sure what that is. All right, that was very weird glitch. Okay, so to unlock gears past level 40, where you see these 5 bullets for Swift, for example, you have to have your gears you have to have that building that I just highlighted at level 20. That's it. You don't have to go any higher than that. I think I had did it 1 to 21 for versus purposes, but you don't really. It's so many other builds to upgrade. That's a waste to go beyond that. This building right here, the chip lab, this didn't always exist, but ever since they changed the versus scoring with day one with the chips, uh, this really this really doesn't do anything. So I think you have to get it to level 20 to be able to promote to create legendary chips. So that's the significance there. So again, so these two buildings, that's why I kind of got them next to each other, just kind of remind myself these are insignificant buildings. Don't upgrade them super high. This one right here is kind of worth upgrading past 20 because this increases the production time of drone components. Uh, so like level 1 components. So ultimately you can combine these to increase your drone component, which I did a video on this ironically last week. And so yeah, so that's pretty straightforward there. And then on that same topic, this drone parts workshop, this unlocked a month or so ago. It might actually is longer than that. So I don't know if this is on everyone's timeline. Some of these buildings do become available as you go, as you progress your account. But this gives you more drone parts per hour to hire your well, not per hour, the cooldown time that it takes to produce one drone parts. I think the highest that you can get is one drone part every 4 hours. The lower the level is, it takes a lot longer, probably like 5 6 hours to create one drone part. But it adds up over time if you're playing the game over several weeks and months. So if you can be more efficient there, great. And it doesn't take a lot of days to get that building upgraded either. So let's see, this other building here, this is related to the tactical gear for the gorilla. So it looks like this also goes above level 30. I don't have a reason to do this, but what this does just give you more of these training things. But you get so many of these in the game, it's probably not worth going as high as I did. But again, it didn't take a lot of days to get to level 30. So again, it was one of those things I upgraded for versus purposes. Let's see. And then these buildings, these are the oil wells. Now, when you first unlock the oil, you get one oil well, but then you have to go further along the research mastery to unlock more oil wells. And I'll show you here. So you get one here to start off, you get unlock that building, and then that's output. And then it's another building that you unlock eventually here. So that's what you do there. And then I think, yeah, that's just more output. So yeah, so the oil mastery helps with that, give you more of that output. And again, this does get the max capacity pretty quickly. So you definitely want to collect that because you don't want oil to go into overflow, because oil is what helps you increase your buildings past level 30. Like literally every building above level 30 requires oil to upgrade it. Like this, for example, to go from 32 to 33, it's 3.5 million oil. I got enough right now, but if I want to upgrade other buildings, I have to have more oil. So hopefully in like 19 days or 20 days, I'll have a lot more oil produced from these things. So you have to make sure you're collecting them timely. Let's see, we make sure we're not missing any buildings here. We got this emergency center. This is great because it increases the capacity of the emergency center. In the past, troops, when the hospitals were full, troops automatically died. But now they can go to the emergency center, and you can heal troops, I think, every 2 days, fainted units. And of course, there's a capacity that's built up based off how high your emergency center level is. So the fainted unit ratio, and then you have the capacity that increases 60 per level. The rescue cooldown, I think, stays the same. I think it probably decreases when you get to certain thresholds, probably every 5 levels or so. So that's pretty useful building to have, pretty high. And then you have this stuff here. Oh yeah, you definitely want to go without these. You have your training base. Now, again, these buildings don't take very long to upgrade. So again, these are another great versus type buildings that you can kind of upgrade on versus days for scoring purposes. Also the resource ones as well. Like these resource buildings do not take very long to upgrade past level 20. So you kind of rush through those if you need points. But this right here, the training base gives you more XP production. So XP is what you use to upgrade your heroes to each level. So like, and as you get higher levels, you have to have more XP to upgrade. So that's obviously important for upgrading the levels of your troops. And the higher you go, the more you get, and you get more of these unlocked as you increase your HQ. That's why I said the HQ is your lifeblood. So you got to focus on that. And then smelters, this increases your ore output per hour, and ore is what help you upgrade your legendary gear. Well, actually, you can use that to upgrade any type of gear, but the only gear that's really important is legendary gear. Purple gear, blue gear, green gear, those are irrelevant. So that's why I got these kind of at a higher level. Got all of these at level 29, but they do take some time to upgrade compared to the other resource buildings. So that's like 12 days. So that's much longer for those, but it's worth it. But you have to kind of sneak them in every once in a while. So you kind of have to play around with these queues to see what, because there will be some times where you might not have anything. You'll have nothing to build, but just one building, and you can use those other queue spots for those other spots. So you just have to do it accordingly. And then you have this tavern. This tavern, what this does, it reduces the cooldown to get one free recruit in the ticket store. That's if you remember to collect them timely. Of course, survivors can decrease the cooldown time even more, but overall, it's not critical to get this upgrade. It doesn't cost a lot of days, but I imagine if you get close to 30, it's going to take a lot more time, because as you can see, it costs more days to get this to level 23 than to get this to level 27. So I can imagine that gets higher. So the bottom line is, the more important stuff is to the game, the more days it takes, if you see that parallel. And then the last but certainly not least, I want to make sure I've covered everything, because the rest of this stuff are just decorations. So these are stuff you can't level up. I know there's 2 more builds I haven't covered yet, but I want to make sure I haven't missed anything before I get to those 2 buildings. Yeah, we talked about all of that. This is a talent workshop. You can't upgrade that past level 1. That's just for your survivors there. And that's another thing for day 2, by the way. Make sure you focus on your survivors. So the last 2 things we're going to talk about are the scout tower and your scouting planes. So the scout tower, because these are dependent on each other. So the alert tower, what it does, it unlocks more things that you can discover whenever you're scouting an opponent. So you get more privileges unlocked. And right now, yeah, it's taking a while to upgrade that. So I'm just going to show you here. So the scout level determines how much intel that you can get on your opponent. And sometimes that could be key whenever you're planning a war, like where we are right now in Spice War, or any type of war, server war. If you can have a member of your team that has like a high alert tower, because it does take a lot of resources and it takes a lot of days to get these things high, you can get some more intel the higher you go. So right now I'm at level 29, but if I get to level 30, it gives you details on units in the hospital. But obviously I don't care about that, about what type of units are in the hospital. The hospital capacity though helps to let me know if it's full, I can kill more troops off. And yeah, so it gives you a lot of little details about what someone has on their wall. And that's only if they have troops on the wall. If they don't have any troops on the wall, then you can't see anything. So that's the reason why I took troops off the wall now, because I don't want people getting into my business and know what I got inside my HQ. And then these buildings here, these scout planes, these are dependent on your alert tower. So you cannot get your scout planes past level 10 first and foremost until your HQ is at 30. But once you're past level 10, you cannot go. These scout planes can never go higher than your scout tower. So the highest that these scout planes can go for me is level 29. They can't go to 30. And the scout planes are pretty interesting because and you get more of these unlocked the deeper your account progresses. You don't have to buy these, but it increases the speed of your planes. And for those that do a lot of Desert Storm, or if you're just trying to collect artifacts during the season, if your plane can go faster than someone else, then you'll get to that artifact first. Same thing in Winter Storm or Desert Storm. Whenever there's some stuff to pick up, whenever a new building gets overtaken, well, that's more so in Desert Storm. Your scout plane, if your plane is faster than the other person, it'll get there first. So, and I got at 24, 23, and 23, and these don't really take a lot of days. I mean, they still take some good amount of days, but not as much some of the others. So again, the more important the building is, the more days it is. Like the resource building, they try to make these friendly to where it doesn't take as many days, but now you can see these are starting to get more expensive past level 25. So the stuff that stays pretty reasonably low are the XP buildings and the resource buildings for your food, gold, and iron. Because even gold at level 28 to 29 is still less than 5 days, and that's with VIP, of course. I keep thinking from my perspective, but 10 days if you don't have VIP or if you don't have any type of masteries at all. So yeah, so those are all the buildings and what purpose they serve. But again, make sure that you do the prerequisite buildings for your HQ, because that unlocks all your other buildings that you see on in this base here. And then if you have those extra slots or some downtime, because there will be downtime, trust me, then you can use that to slowly fill out your other stuff, because that increases your overall account and make it pretty competitive when you're out there on the game. So let me know if I missed anything regarding any of these buildings, but I think I covered them all because I had to just make sure that I did it. But hope you keep enjoying the content. I'll definitely segue back to another spice war that we're going to have tomorrow. I'll talk about that tomorrow, probably afterwards. But anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll talk to you later.